Most people treat a power outage like a surprise visit from a distant relative, annoying, inconvenient, and somehow always happening at the worst possible time. The difference is, you can actually prepare for a blackout, not with a bag of supplies in the closet, but with real, permanent upgrades to your home that make the grid going down largely irrelevant. These are the only 12 things you need to make your home blackout-proof. Item 12. Whole home surge protection. Before we get to the big-ticket items, start here, because a power surge following a blackout can destroy equipment worth far more than the cost of protecting it. And almost nobody installs this at the panel level. Most homes have individual surge protectors on their power strips. Those help, but they protect only the devices plugged into them at that moment. What they don't protect is the rest of the house. The HVAC system, the well pump, the refrigerator, the washing machine, hardwired lighting, the garage door opener, and every other appliance that's connected directly to your electrical circuits without a surge protector in between. When power is restored after an outage, the returning surge that travels through the line can fry those devices instantly and silently. The solution is a whole home surge protection device installed at the main electrical panel, sometimes called a whole house surge protector, or a Type 1 or Type 2 surge protective device, SPD in electrical code language. These devices intercept voltage spikes at the service entrance before they enter any circuit in the house. They absorb or redirect the excess energy to ground, protecting everything wired to your panel simultaneously. A whole home surge protector installed by a licensed electrician costs between $300 and $700 for parts and labor combined, typically a $100 to $200 device plus an hour of electrical work. The Eaton CHSPT2 ULTRA, Siemens FS140, and Square DQO2175 SPD are consistently cited by electricians as reliable residential-grade units. They require no maintenance, have no moving parts, and should be the first electrical upgrade any homeowner makes when preparing for outage-related power events. For maximum protection, pair the panel-level device with quality plug-in surge protectors, rated at 1,000 joules or higher, on sensitive electronics like computers, televisions, and audio equipment. The panel device handles the line-level surges. The plug-in protectors handle localized spikes. Together, they cover both categories of damage. Without the panel device, the whole system is built on a gap. Item 11. An automatic transfer switch. An automatic transfer switch is a device installed at your electrical panel that monitors incoming grid power and, when it detects an outage, disconnects the home from the utility line and switches the electrical load to a backup power source, a generator, a battery system, or both. It does this automatically, without any human involvement, typically within 10 to 30 seconds of the outage. In practical terms, it's the difference between a home that keeps running when the grid fails and a home where you're fumbling with extension cords in the dark. The transfer switch matters as a standalone upgrade because it solves two problems that exist regardless of what backup power source you have. The first is safety. Without a transfer switch, connecting a generator to home circuits creates backfeed, electricity flowing back onto the utility line, creating lethal hazards for workers repairing lines they believe are dead. It's dangerous and illegal in most jurisdictions without proper isolation equipment. A transfer switch physically disconnects the home from the utility line before engaging backup power, eliminating this risk. The second problem it solves is usability. Extension cords from a portable generator to individual appliances don't power hardwired systems. Your HVAC, your well pump, your sump pump, your electric water heater. A transfer switch routes backup power through actual circuits, which means those systems run normally. A home with a generator and no transfer switch is running a very expensive extension cord. A manual transfer switch, where you flip the switch yourself after an outage, costs $400 to $700 installed and is the minimum responsible setup for any home with a generator connected to the electrical system. An automatic transfer switch costs $600 to $2,000 installed and handles the switchover without you. For a whole home standby generator, an ATS is standard equipment included in the installation. For a portable generator being integrated into an existing panel, A manual transfer switch is the upgrade that makes the generator actually useful. Item 10, a whole home standby generator. This is the gold standard of blackout proofing and the most expensive item on this list. If the previous two items were about protecting what you have and connecting what you'll add, this is the main event. A whole home standby generator is a permanently installed, automatically activated backup power system, a unit that sits outside the house on a concrete pad, connected to a natural gas or propane fuel line, wired into the home's electrical system via the automatic transfer switch. When the grid goes down, the transfer switch detects the outage, and the generator starts automatically, usually within 10 to 30 seconds. The lights flicker once, briefly, and the house keeps running. Refrigerator, HVAC, water heater, lights, sump pump, medical devices, everything. For most households, the outage is essentially invisible. Generac is the dominant brand in residential standby generators and holds roughly 70% of the US residential market. Kohler, Cummins, and Briggs & Stratton are the other major manufacturers with strong reputations for reliability. According to Generac, standby generators turn on automatically during a power outage event by using a transfer switch wired into the home's electrical system, meaning homeowners don't have to deal with fueling and starting a portable generator, as well as running electrical cords from the generator into the home. For a home up to about 2,000 square feet with standard appliances, a 13 to 17 kilowatt unit is typically sufficient. Homes with larger square footage, electric water heaters, or higher electrical demand generally need a 20 to 22 kilowatt unit or larger. The all-in cost, unit, installation, transfer switch, concrete pad, permitting, and electrical work typically ranges from $7,000 to $20,000 depending on the size and complexity of the installation. Running cost is $2 to $8 per hour on natural gas depending on load, which adds up during a multi-week event but is substantially less disruptive than no power at all. The case for the investment is straightforward. Standby generators last 15 to 30 years with proper maintenance, require servicing every 200 hours of runtime, or 2 years, and add 3 to 5% to a home's resale value in markets where outages are common. In coastal and storm-prone areas, they're increasingly expected by homebuyers. In an area that lost power for 53 hours on average during a single hurricane season, as South Carolina did in 2024, the calculation is fairly clear. Item 9. Solar panels with battery storage. For homeowners who want energy independence without the noise, the fuel cost, and the maintenance schedule of a combustion generator, a solar panel system paired with battery storage is the more modern answer, and it's become meaningfully more affordable. Here is the critical thing most homeowners don't know. A standard grid-tied solar system, the most common residential solar installation, the kind where panels on the roof feed power into the grid, does not provide backup power during an outage. Federal regulations require grid-tied solar systems to shut down automatically when the grid goes down, specifically to prevent backfeed that could injure utility workers. If you have solar panels and no battery, your panels produce zero power for your home during a blackout. This surprises a significant number of solar panel owners, usually at the worst possible moment. The fix is a battery storage system integrated with your solar installation. Units like the Tesla Powerwall 3, Generac PWR cell, LG RESU, or Enphase IQ battery. During normal operation, excess solar production charges the battery. During a grid outage, the system automatically disconnects from the grid and operates in island mode, drawing from the stored battery charge and continuing to charge from the solar panels as they produce power. In a multi-day outage during good weather, a properly sized solar plus battery system can run a home's essential circuits indefinitely. A Tesla Powerwall 3 costs approximately $11,500 installed for the first unit, with most average homes needing 2 units for substantial whole home backup. Installed system costs for a complete solar plus storage setup range from $15,000 to $40,000, depending on array size and battery capacity. The 30% federal investment tax credit applies to battery storage systems paired with solar, reducing the effective cost significantly. Standalone battery storage without solar is also possible. Systems that charge from the grid during off-peak hours and discharge during outages, costing $10,000 to $25,000 installed depending on capacity. Item 8. A battery backup sump pump. This one is specific to homes with basements, but for those homeowners, it may be the most practically important item on the entire list. A sump pump exists to prevent your basement from flooding. It sits in a pit at the lowest point of the basement, runs continuously or on demand, and pumps water out when groundwater rises. The problem that nobody thinks about until it's too late. Sump pumps run on electricity. The conditions that most commonly cause flooding, heavy rainstorms, hurricanes, snowmelt events, are exactly the same conditions that most commonly cause power outages. Your sump pump fails at the precise moment you need it most. The solution is a battery backup sump pump, a secondary pump with its own battery system that activates automatically when the primary pump loses power or when the primary pump is overwhelmed. Several configurations exist. A dedicated battery backup unit installed alongside the primary pump, or a combination unit that integrates the primary and backup into a single system. Battery backup pumps are typically powered by 12-volt marine-type deep-cycle batteries that can run the backup pump for several hours to several days, depending on how frequently it cycles. The Zoeller Aquanaut, Wayne WSS 30V, and Basement Watchdog models are consistently recommended by plumbers and home improvement professionals. A complete battery backup sump pump installation, backup unit and battery, runs from $200 to $600 for the equipment, with professional installation adding $150 to $300. This is one of the lowest cost items on this list relative to the damage it can prevent. A single basement flooding event can cause $10,000 to $50,000 in structural and personal property damage. A $400 battery backup sump pump is not a hard cost-benefit calculation. Item 7. Insulation, air sealing, and weather stripping. This is the item that sounds the least like a blackout preparation measure and is actually one of the most effective, because the immediate danger in an extended winter blackout isn't darkness, it's temperature. A poorly insulated, poorly sealed home loses heat rapidly after the HVAC goes offline. Within a few hours in sub-freezing weather, indoor temperatures can drop to the point where pipes freeze and burst. In summer, a poorly sealed home heats up dangerously fast during a heatwave blackout, creating serious health risks for elderly household members and children. A well-insulated and properly air-sealed home changes temperature far more slowly, acting as a thermal buffer. The goal for blackout proofing is a home that maintains a livable temperature for at least 24 hours without any active heating or cooling, in the worst likely weather for your region. The upgrades that produce the most return break into two categories. Insulation first, specifically attic insulation, since heat rises and exits through the roof before anywhere else. Bringing attic insulation to R38 or R60 depending on your climate zone is the single highest return thermal investment for most homes. Spray foam runs $1,500 to $3,500 for a typical home. Blown-in cellulose or fiberglass runs $1,000 to $2,500. Many utility companies and state programs offer rebates covering 20 to 30% of project cost. Check the Energy Star rebate finder before scheduling any work. The second category is air sealing. The Department of Energy estimates that air leakage accounts for 25 to 40% of total heating and cooling energy use in a typical home. Door sweeps cost $10 to $30 per door and install in under 20 minutes. Weather stripping around door and window frames costs $5 to $15 per opening. Foam outlet insulators, $5 for a pack of 12. Snap behind exterior wall outlet cover plates and seal penetrations most homeowners never consider. The combined material cost for a full house is typically under $200. These two categories work together. Insulation slows conductive heat loss through walls, floor, and ceiling. Air sealing stops infiltration through gaps. Combined, they can keep an unheated home hours warmer in a winter blackout than a home with neither, and those hours determine whether your pipes survive the night. Item 6. pipe insulation, and frost protection. The most expensive consequence of a winter blackout for most homeowners is not the inconvenience. It's a burst pipe. When the heat goes off and temperatures drop, water in unprotected pipes freezes and expands. Ice expands with roughly 2,000 pounds per square inch of force when it forms in a pipe, more than enough to split copper, PEX, or PVC at the joint. When the pipe thaws, it releases water into the wall or ceiling. A single burst pipe from a winter blackout can cost more than a whole home generator to repair. Pipe insulation, foam pipe sleeves or fiberglass wrap applied around exposed or vulnerable pipe runs, is the first layer of protection. Pipes in unheated spaces are the primary risk. Exterior walls, crawl spaces, garages, basements, and attic runs. Foam pipe insulation sleeves cost $1 to $3 per linear foot and can be installed without professional help in a few hours. They don't prevent pipes from freezing indefinitely in extreme cold, but they significantly extend the time before freezing occurs, buying hours that may be the difference between an inconvenience and a catastrophe. For longer outages, self-regulating electric heat tape, a cord that wraps around pipes and produces just enough heat to prevent freezing, controlled by a built-in thermostat, is the more robust solution for the most vulnerable runs. Products like the Easy Heat AHB and Frost King are widely available at hardware stores. They require a standard electrical outlet to function, so they complement rather than replace a backup power system. In a serious winter outage with generator power, keeping heat tape running on vulnerable pipes is a high-priority circuit to protect. Item 5. A corded landline phone. This one addresses a gap that becomes obvious immediately when the power goes out, and slightly less obvious when you think about why it matters. Cordless phones, the kind with a base station that sits on a countertop, are useless in a blackout because the base station requires electrical power. This is not widely appreciated until the moment it matters. Cell phones solve this in most scenarios, but cellular networks can become congested or partially fail during major regional emergencies when hundreds of thousands of people are simultaneously trying to make calls in the same area. During Hurricane Katrina, cellular service across affected areas was essentially non-functional for days. During major northeast snowstorms, cellular congestion in densely populated areas regularly renders calls unreliable for hours. A corded telephone plugged into a standard RJ11 telephone jack draws power directly from the phone line. Power supplied by the telephone company's central office, which has battery backup and generator backup specifically designed to maintain service during power outages. A corded phone connected to a working traditional landline service will function when nothing else does. They are available new for $15 to $40 and can also be found at any thrift store. If you have any form of traditional landline service, not VoIP, which also requires household power, keep at least one corded phone connected and accessible. One important caveat: fiber optic landline services like AT and T-Fiber and some Verizon Fios connections run through an optical network terminal at your home that requires AC power and has a battery backup unit rated for approximately 8 hours of standby. After that battery depletes, even a corded phone won't work. Know which type of landline service you have and know how long your battery backup is rated to last. If your service uses an ONT with a battery backup unit, confirm the battery is functional and replace it on the manufacturer's recommended schedule, typically every 3 to 5 years. Item 4. A manual garage door release. Practiced, not just installed. This one is free. It comes standard on every garage door opener made since the mid-1980s. It is the single most basic blackout preparation for any home with a garage door opener, and a significant percentage of people have never used it and wouldn't know how in the dark, under pressure. Every garage door opener has an emergency release cord, typically a red cord with a red handle hanging from the trolley on the overhead rail. Pulling this cord disengages the door from the electric opener, allowing the door to be operated manually. Without this knowledge, a power outage can trap your car in the garage or trap you outside it, in exactly the scenarios where you might most need to move quickly, evacuating before a storm, getting out to a warming center during a cold snap, leaving before a flood. The mechanism is simple and standard across virtually all residential garage door systems. Pull the cord downward and the trolley disconnects. The door is then heavy. A standard double garage door weighs 150 to 200 pounds, but should open by hand if the springs are properly adjusted and functioning. If your garage door is difficult or impossible to lift manually, that indicates a spring tension problem that needs professional service, separate from any blackout concern. Re-engaging the opener after power is restored requires sliding the trolley back onto the rail, either manually or by pressing the wall button or remote once power is back. Most newer openers have automatic re-engagement when power is restored. 2 additional points worth knowing. If the garage door is locked with an interior padlock when you try to manually open it, the release cord will not help you. Know whether your door has a secondary lock and where the key is. And if you've lost power due to a serious storm, do not open the garage door if you hear wind that suggests the door's structural integrity might be compromised. Sectional garage doors can fail catastrophically under high wind load, and maintaining a closed door may be safer. Item 3. A whole home UPS for critical devices. Most backup power systems, generators, battery storage units, take between 10 and 30 seconds to come online after grid power fails. That's fast enough to keep your HVAC running and your sump pump cycling. It is not fast enough to protect sensitive electronics, which lose power the instant the grid drops and can experience damaging voltage irregularities when power is restored. The device that covers this gap is a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply. A UPS is a battery-backed device that sits between the wall outlet and whatever is plugged into it, providing instantaneous power from its internal battery the moment grid power drops, typically in under 20 milliseconds. Fast enough that connected electronics never register an interruption. It also conditions the power coming through it, filtering out voltage spikes and sags that damage sensitive equipment. Most UPS units will run their connected devices for 5 to 60 minutes on battery depending on load, bridging the gap until a generator or battery system comes online, or simply keeping devices running through the brief outages and momentary dips that don't justify starting a generator at all. The devices that most benefit from UPS protection in a blackout scenario are home medical equipment, CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, insulin refrigeration, along with desktop computers, network equipment like routers and modems, and home security systems. For medical devices specifically, the American Red Cross and FEMA both recommend having backup power capable of running the device through at least one full night, and a UPS satisfies this for lower draw equipment like CPAP machines, which typically consume 30 to 60 watts. A PC and CyberPower are the 2 dominant residential UPS manufacturers. A 1,500 volt amperes APC BackU PS Pro, enough to run a computer, monitor, modem, and router simultaneously for 20 to 40 minutes, costs around $130 to $180. A medical-grade UPS sized for a CPAP machine costs $100 to $250 depending on capacity. They require no installation, no permits, no professionals, and no maintenance beyond replacing the internal battery every 3 to 5 years. For a household with anyone on a CPAP or other low-draw medical device, this is one of the highest value items on this entire list relative to its cost. Item 2. A whole home water shutoff valve with easy access. The scenario you want to prevent when the power goes out in winter is simple. A pipe freezes and bursts while you're asleep at a hotel or unable to respond immediately, and water runs freely through your walls until someone shuts it off. The faster the water is stopped, the less the damage. The question is whether you can find and operate the shutoff in the dark, under stress, possibly in 4 inches of standing water. Every home has a main water shutoff valve, the master control that cuts water supply to the entire house. In most homes, it's located in the basement, near where the water service enters the building, in a utility room, or in a crawl space. Some homes have the shutoff at the curb, requiring a specific tool to operate. The critical preparedness step is knowing exactly where yours is, confirming it works. Many older gate valves seize from disuse and fail to close fully, and making sure every adult in the household can locate and operate it in the dark. If your main shutoff is an old gate valve that's difficult to turn or doesn't fully close, replace it with a ball valve, a quarter-turn valve that operates reliably even after years of inactivity and takes one 90-degree turn to go from fully open to fully closed. A plumber can replace the main shutoff valve in 1 to 2 hours for $150 to $350. It is one of the most practically important plumbing upgrades in any home and is entirely separate from blackout preparedness. But it becomes essential when a blackout causes a pipe failure at 2 a.m. Mark the valve with a bright tag or paint, store a small flashlight in the immediate vicinity, and consider installing an automatic water shutoff system. Devices like the Flow by Moen or Fin Plus that monitor water flow, detect abnormal patterns that indicate a burst pipe, and shut off the water supply automatically. These devices run $500 to $800 plus installation, require power to operate, and have saved homeowners from catastrophic water damage in documented cases of extended blackouts. Item 1. A documented and tested home circuit map. This item costs nothing and takes 1 afternoon, and it is the foundational piece of knowledge that makes everything else on this list function properly when you actually need it. A circuit map is a documented record of which circuit breaker in your electrical panel controls which circuits in your home. Most electrical panels come with a label inside the door that's either blank, illegibly scrawled, or filled out by a previous owner with information that no longer matches the current wiring. The average homeowner trying to shut off a specific circuit during a blackout recovery scenario, or trying to prioritize which circuits to connect to a generator, is effectively guessing. Creating an accurate circuit map requires a circuit breaker finder tool, available for $20 to $40, and 1 afternoon of work. Plug the transmitter into an outlet, scan each breaker with the receiver, label it, and move on. Document every outlet: light fixture, hardwired appliance, HVAC system, sump pump, water heater, and any other electrical load in the house, matched to its specific breaker. Write it down in permanent marker inside the panel door and take a photo of the completed label to store on your phone. Here's why this matters specifically for blackout proofing. When your generator or battery system comes online, you need to know which circuits to prioritize. The refrigerator circuit, the sump pump circuit, the medical equipment circuit, the well pump circuit. These need power before the living room lighting circuit or the guest bedroom outlets. An accurate circuit map lets you make those decisions intentionally rather than randomly. It also allows you to disconnect non-essential circuits to reduce load on your backup power system, extending how long your battery or generator fuel lasts. Circuit mapping also reveals surprises that affect your preparedness planning. Many homes have circuits shared between rooms in ways the occupants don't know about, or circuits loaded with more devices than they should carry. Knowing your system as it actually is, not as you assume it to be, is the baseline from which every other item on this list operates. And those are the only 12 things you need to make your home blackout-proof. From the $30 foam insulators behind your outlet covers all the way up to the $20,000 whole home generator. It's a spectrum, and you don't have to do all of it at once. Start where the risk is highest for your home. If you have a basement, the battery backup sump pump is probably worth more than anything else on this list. If you're in hurricane country, the standby generator calculus is different than if you're in a city that loses power twice a decade for 4 hours each time. The point is that making your home resilient to a blackout is an engineering problem, not a shopping problem. It's about closing the gaps in what your home can do on its own, not just stockpiling things inside it. If this gave you something useful, hit that like button and subscribe. It keeps more of this content coming. Drop a comment with which upgrade you're tackling first, or which one you hadn't thought about before this video. We'll see you in the next one.